sitting with elders is very important, and it's actually a way for us to continue our identity, as other indigenous cultures as well do. So I get used to like super emotional when I sit like with the elders and stuff. So, but yay! I'm glad that we can be here together. Yes. Hi. My
Hello.
name is Chelsey.
Hi. I like all your tattoos.
Thank you. Actually, my eldest brother is a tattoo artist and just artist all around. But one of the stuff he does is tattoos. So I was like his live canvas, I guess.
All right. Awesome. Yeah.
Thank you guys.
Thank you. Yep.
Yeah. So I wanted it to be like super informal and just get to learn each other. The work that I'm doing here is really storytelling and really digging into a lot of experiences that haven't been like looked into or shined upon. And so I just wanted to talk about like what first brought me to your page, which was your art, mom's art, and just everything you guys do. And I also want to learn from you as well. Nyla, is it right?
Neela.
Neela, okay.
Yeah.
As just like another generation experiencing like everything that mom's going through. So yeah, do you want to share about just your art and all the stuff you guys are doing?
I'll grab it for you. Okay. She wanted to show some of her pieces.
Please.
This is one of the dream catchers right here that we have. So I don't know if you can see it, but
I can. It is beautiful. Oh my gosh, and it's large as well.
Yeah, it's very big. Use my hand and there it is. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, beautiful.
Yeah. It's I guess it's made up of 5 different dream catchers together.
Okay.
Yeah, and every part is movable, you know. And here's one. This is one of the older pieces that is also double.
Oh, I'm sorry. The audio is cutting in and out.
Oh,
Like
okay.
something's blocking it.
This is one of the, I think one of the older pieces, one of the older ones that I created a long time ago. But also it's got the movable part in the center. I seem to be more drawn to the ones that have another one hanging in the eye.
Right.
I couldn't really tell you why. I guess it's just more work, no?
Yeah.
But she's going to bring some of the friends. This is the turtle. In it, it's one of my abstracts with the deer in it, the feather, the turtle, the sun and the moon. And
Oh, the turtle. I see the turtle
yeah,
now.
with the feather inside.
The sun, the moons.
Yeah,
Yes.
and then
Beautiful.
dog star. I always put a lot of dog stars in my drawings,
Yes.
which is some people would refer to as North Star or Evening Star, but it's called dog star. And then the deer. So, and I have a lot of my drawings have the turtle in it because we're turtle clan. Yeah, we come from turtle. Can you see that? This has a little bit of another abstract. And then we wanted to just say like the sales of the print, this particular one, the proceeds.
Wait, I'm sorry, y'all. Just so you guys know, the audio is cutting in and out. Like something's blocking it.
Maybe.
Just so I can hear what you're saying.
Can you hear us now? Can you hear us better?
Okay, that's a little bit better. Yeah.
Okay. Where's the microphone? I'm not sure. Oh. Okay, yeah. So this is another abstract. This is from the prints that we made, which has the bear paw, and it's got a little bit of the novel influence in it. A couple of places. The printing of this particular one, it's a larger art project that we're working towards creating to help spread awareness of sculpture pieces. So whatever these sell go into that kind of fund. Yeah. Okay. I'll switch this out. Okay, and then you have these
I
features.
really love that piece. That was one of the pieces that I saw on your website. And I just
Yeah.
thought it was amazing because there was so much just communication that I received coming from the image and all the little pieces that put it together. It was just so empowering. And, you know, a lot of people don't recognize, like, even with my motherland as well, in the
Hmm.
Marianas, a
Yeah.
lot of our identities are either influenced or lost.
Yeah.
But one of my goals is to encourage my people to understand that we've been occupied numerous different times throughout our history, and it
Hmm.
all happened way back in the day. And so we're occupied with the German, the Japanese, the American, the Spanish, the American. And so this is why all of our identities of who we are, it's influenced or it's lost, but also reminding us that it's within us. We just got to keep on searching
Exactly.
and quieting in ourselves. So that
Mhm.
piece was really important when I saw it. There was a lot of communication that was coming in, not only from your piece, but like speaking to me like in my identity as well.
Well, thank you. And that's what I do a lot of abstracts, and there's
Yes.
not too many people that understand, the different portions and concepts that I have inside of one piece. Because if you really look at it, you'll see different things. I mean, you can interpret it whatever, um, whatever way it speaks to you.
Yeah.
And so that's important to me. And a lot of people don't know that about my art. I hide a lot of stuff in there, just not purposely. It's just that I start something, and then whatever I start feeling and thinking, I
Um,
start. And that's a way to get a lot of elderly people uh, talking to you without words.
yes.
Actually, is through art.
Yes.
And you get them going, and being from all these different places and the different influences, your people have a lot of creativity, a lot of um, there's so much. uh, oh, I don't know how to explain it, but there is so much that comes with the cultural background, that
Yes.
I mean, the displays would be, fantastic if you could just get them
Yes.
to express yourself. And there's so many different forms of art, you know,
Yes.
and so you can't just nail it down with drawing. I mean, it's so many different things.
Right. Yeah. And I was gonna say, I encourage just continuously do that style kind of art because
Hmm.
not a lot of people are exposed to it,
Yeah.
nor do a lot of people understand it. And what
Yeah.
you were saying as well, that's another thing I'm trying to not only teach my peoples and just my peers or whoever I come across, but myself as well, that art isn't just drawing or painting or sculpture. And there's so many tools and resources now, especially with the internet,
Hmm.
where we can communicate in so many different ways. So one of the ways that I've been creating and exploring my artistic form is through my voice or
Hmm.
my writing. So
Yeah.
um I love just the way you do the art and stuff because, like I said, it was communicating to me like in just so many different ways, and I wasn't just like questioning or researching like what it meant for you as a person and in your culture, but also like how it was talking to me like
Hmm.
within my culture, which it all ties in together, I
It
believe.
does. It does. Yeah. I had a younger girl ask me if I thought it was all right for her to put other tribes' design, their influence as far as design into her art, and I said, of course, I do it all the time. There's
Yes.
nothing wrong with sharing that. That's how we learn. Linked.
Right.
And
Yes.
yes, and we're all linked together, as one. So I mean, it only makes sense to me. But
Right.
here's a couple more that I had made that I created for
Beautiful.
Pride Month. And this one is this one doesn't have it on there. And then the other one here. This is queer rights. This is for queer rights. And I put
Beautiful.
I
Yeah.
put the different
What
stones and the quartz on
yeah.
them. So yeah. I like
when
them.
I saw those ones and I was like, "Oh my god, I have to visit this site when I get paid again." I got more emotional like as I was cuz I was exploring your website because I wanted to do my own research and learn a little bit more about you guys. And I thought that was super cool how you did a series for the queer rights, the
Yeah.
trans rights. So I've been sharing it with people, and I'm going to continue to share it with people because
Oh,
I think
good.
it's very cool and not a part of like our art and like learning our art and teaching it as well. I also another thing that I'm working on within myself as well as within whoever I come across with is the work that we do because a lot of
Mhm.
us right now are a lot of us have smaller businesses and we're reflecting our culture in it, which is so beautiful.
Yes.
But I also want to be a part of us like really understanding like the big picture of why
Yes.
it's so crucial for us to connect our culture in it and to literally see like everything that we're sharing and also intentionally expressing or like letting people know what this means. Like it's not just a card or a sticker or a dream catcher or whatever. There's like literal definition
Mhm.
within this one item, and I think that also helps us with understanding our consumerism and being mindful to the way the businesses we support and how we utilize our fight because it all again ties in. So
Mhm.
it's so
Yeah.
beautiful.
So yeah. So those are some of the things, and the way I started with the Pride Dream Catchers was 2 years ago. A friend of mine, he and his partner in Colorado. Uh, I become friends with him, and I said, "What a better way, you know?" And then we went out and had gotten some bright color leathers, which I thought was real pretty. So that's how we started doing that. Which it was a good. It's a good thing. It's a good thing to include everyone and bring them in, you know, and be accepting. And so art does not discriminate.
Yes. Yes. And that's another thing too that I feel we need to teach our peoples more and anybody in general is that like we've been taught this definition of art, which is again like this fine art or this fine line art or sculpture or just art that's only in
For certain
museums
people.
for
Yes, certain
certain
people.
people, but our art can be anyway, and the lines are crooked, it's squiggly, it's circular, it's all over the
Exactly.
place. Sometimes it doesn't even the picture doesn't even look like it makes sense visually, but when you really like sit and hear it, it
Hmm.
comes out as well. And yes, to the queer rights dreamcatcher, because when I saw that I felt the same and I thought like this is such a unique and like you can just feel that it was personal for somebody to do something like that with the dream catchers and to do a series of it as well of everything. So as somebody who is a lesbian as well
Hmm.
and exploring my identity, it was appreciative to just see that added into your work.
Yeah,
So thank
well,
you.
I'm happy because one of my granddaughters just reached out to me about 3 weeks ago, I think, and she also is lesbian, you know, and she lives in a very small town, so it's very hard for her.
Mm-hmm.
But I always
Yeah,
tell her, stay strong and stay safe and, you know, keep
yeah,
going. So,
right.
you know, as long as you stay grounded in what you believe in, that's,
Yeah.
that'll keep going. That'll keep you going.
Yeah, yeah. Do you guys have anything else that you wanted to share about the art? Like what motivates you to put those things on there?
Well, one of the things when I was younger, when I was first taken to boarding school, that was one of the things that really saved me there. You know, my father being part black and part Native American, he put the dance and music in me. He always told me they could never take that from you. You know, with the hard times, always turn to that. And but when I went to boarding school, I started drawing just small little things. Anytime I could steal away, you know. And then I found that I could find a little acceptance with some of the teachers through my art. And so once you find, and you will, you will not believe, being a small child like that in an institute like that, basically it's a prison. So even you at that age are looking for a way to lessen the
Mm.
repercussions of what's going on. And so mine was art.
The coping skill.
Yes,
Mm.
it is. It's a coping skill. So
Yes.
I started that, and I used that throughout the time I was in boarding school. And it did get me acceptance with the teachers. Now, the matrons that, with the church and everything, it did not. I was across the board like everybody else. But I had that time that I could kind of steal away, into something else with that during the school hours. So that's where that started from.
Wow.
Hmm.
Yeah. Wow, I want to take a second to sit with that just because that is what people need to hear. And when I say people, I'm not only reflecting to like all of this external community but also our own people,
Hmm.
so that they can hear, and like you said, what your dad said, they can never take away the music or the dance, they can
Hmm.
never take away your art. And
Hmm.
for me as well, coming out here to the diaspora, to the United States, and pretty much being on my own since 18 years old, those were those beliefs that stuck in with me, even
Hmm.
though I wasn't 110% depending on it, because I was just a young person. I was
Hmm.
trying to like navigate life, so I wasn't like focusing on those reminders that came from like my elders. And so now I'm starting to remember and making sure that I don't forget. So something like my voice has been silent since early childhood, and then I've created this response of silence because of the silence I sat in. Just continuously remind myself to utilize my voice in whatever capacity it needs to be. And again, I think what it is that the world just tells us like we have to like speak a certain way or say specific things, and our people like just continuously believe that because it's always taught.
Hmm.
And that's what people are listening to, right? Only the things that they want to hear, the good stuff, the positive stuff. When we talk about stories, they're looking at it as negative, but it's real life, that some things that people go through.
Hmm.
um so yeah, just wow, I'm just like
All growing up too, she taught us to do that. She was an art school, or she was an art teacher at our elementary school. And so it provides another outlet because there
yes.
is systemic trauma and generational trauma. So even though these things didn't directly happen to you, there's still a lot of unhealed parts of the individual. And I know for myself, I was, drinking and using drugs to cope with a lot of stuff. And so just being able to have that outlet of, and like you said, using your voice. My
Yes.
art is making videos. So that's
Hmm.
what I like to do. I like to write. I like to do things like that. And so it's just grasping on, my son cooks, like just grasping on to what that art is that speaks to you and using that as a healing tool, as a coping mechanism to deal with, I mean, life throws punches, right? So,
Yes.
But
Yes.
she's also a very good artist, with oils. She does draw. Also, my
paint.
grandson, she paints good, very
Beautiful.
good. And so I'm going to put you on the spot right here.
Okay,
I
go ahead.
want you to go get that drawing of yourself so you can show.
I don't even know where it is, but I can go look for it.
Okay,
Okay.
go. Yeah, go. She has a beautiful painting of herself
Wow. Okay.
that she's going to go grab. It's fantastic. And this
Beautiful.
is the one that she's working on. I'm painting the little saddle shoes or little shoes that can't lose.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes. Okay.
yeah.
Beautiful.
She's very gifted, in a lot of ways. I think people only consider themselves to have one type of art, but I think every individual has so many creative different little facets to them that if you keep tapping into these little different areas, you'll find how expressive you can be with other things. You know, it doesn't have to be just material. It can be dance, can be singing music. I mean, there's so many things. Writing, I write poetry myself, but I find that when I do write poetry, it's when I'm really in a real down, depressed type situation, when I'm scrambling, trying to figure out, uh,
Yeah,
different
that's
things
deep.
that I'm what's triggering me, and then I
Yeah.
write. But then, and yeah, it's not the happiest of poems, but it makes you think.
Yes.
And when I was I started college late because I didn't think I was worthy of it, being pound down all the time. So I took dance also. I took line dancing, street dancing. I took ballet, which as a child, that was one of my things I wanted. And people said, you can't do that. You have scoliosis. I have scoliosis real bad, but I did it, and I passed my class. So it's just a
Yeah.
matter of tapping into what you want for yourself.
Yeah,
Because
and see, that's also what we need to hear as well. We need to hear people, our community, and just those voices that are encouraging us to tap in. Even if we fall one time, don't give up, keep going. Because
Exactly.
there's some things that are just naturally, like with me, I
Mhm.
would never have said I was an artist before. My mom and my eldest brother is the artist in our family naturally with their hands. They don't need to look at anything, or it's just there. And
Mhm.
for my younger brother, he had to practice, and now with me, I'm starting to practice and see
Mhm.
different mediums, different kind of ways to paint. Sometimes I do drawings and I do a lot of writings around it. Like I
Mhm.
do like these blank drawing, like a blank face, but there's just writing. So it's just limitless. So I just wanted to say thank you for saying that. That's something that we do need to hear a lot.
Expression.
She's going to show you hers
So
here.
yeah, there's like a story behind this too. She's trying to push me to put my art out there, and I'm
It's a good thing.
tiptoeing.
It's a good thing.
Well, so yeah, it's supposed to represent being bare and open and showing yourself and your heart. And so, yeah, it's a pain.
Yes, yes,
Isn't it
yes.
beautiful?
So,
Yes, yes. No, well, thank you for sharing the story in front of it because see, to the natural eye, they'd be like, what are we doing? Like, what are we
we're looking
we're
at a
exposing
boob.
our body. We're looking at a half-covered boob. But
Yeah,
what
it's
you
the
said
left.
right there,
It's the heart. It's like being bare and vulnerable enough to show that.
And
yes,
so,
no,
see, it's another a way of hiding a message within the painting.
within, yeah. No,
Mhm.
I definitely stand next to mom and encourage you to push that out
Oh,
because
Yeah,
again, just
exactly.
communicating through the art and just like we're talking about the many different ways. I actually have a family friend that's also from back home as well, and I can share her account with you all, but she does fine art. She went to school for it, and now she's pretty much what she does, her practice is sitting with BIPOC women who have experienced violence, any sort of violence to their body or within their
hmm.
lives, and she keeps the voices. She sits and documents them, like how they're doing via voice, and then she keeps the voices in the painting. So people are not
That's
only
what we
like
were gonna
looking at
do.
the painting,
Yes.
but they're hearing their voice and they're
Yes.
hearing their stories. So it expands people's mind, like
Absolutely.
because some of her stuff as well is revealing, but she puts like a mask on the face, and that was sort of like a security for the people sharing, but then it also became something where it's representing not being able to share, so being covered. So
Yes.
now people are revealing themselves, but it's still like halfway because they
And it's
feel like safe
everyone has,
but
yeah,
unsafe.
everyone has their own pace and their own journey, right? But we were actually working on something. My mom's working on a big piece right now, and I've sat with her for hours and hours and done interviews and recorded stories and stuff. And that's kind of where it was like, let me put this one out on TikTok for her. And then people were encouraging her to share more. And so just
Yeah.
putting it out. And, but we wanted to put her voice next to like headphones that you put
Yes.
on and can then see it.
I really encourage, like, yeah, putting just our voice
Mm-hmm.
on there. It's so powerful. And like with the videos and stuff like that, it's so great. But my number one thing that I'm utilizing on my platform, it's always going to be voice, and it's
Mm-hmm.
always going to be encouraging voice, because for me, again, due to my experiences with abuse, I didn't know how to say that I was getting hurt when I was a kid. So
Mm-hmm.
then I grew up into this young person and this adult, self silencing myself, lack of communication, or no communication at all, or communicating in the wrong ways. And so now I'm starting to explore that. But I definitely encourage that, because again, we do need elder voices out there.
Mm-hmm.
And I say that in the most respectful way possible, because sometimes, like, people are like, are you calling me old? And I'm like, I'm looking at you like as our elder, like in the most utmost respectful way, because you, and it's important in our culture as well, like to
Storytelling is,
listen
yeah,
and to hear those stories and to pass it along, because like my grandmother said, like, if our stories and our lives get into somebody else's own hands, they're going to influence it for personal gain, and it's not going
exactly.
to be for us. So it's
Mm-hmm.
important that the kids are always connecting with the elders. And right now, that's my position in my
Mm-hmm.
homeland. And you can imagine it's not an easy thing,
Yeah.
especially like in Micronesia, because it's such a small region and small islands, clutter of islands. We're so far away from the rest of the world, so we're still trying to develop in our own way. And it's developed, it's there, but as far as like understanding these things, like the importance of it, not like, I'm not telling you what to do or what not to do, but like, we need to remember this. So
Mm-hmm.
I know we remember, we just need to get
Yep.
reminded again, because it's just years and years of lies
Yes.
and
Yeah.
specific ways of life that have
Conditioning.
Yep.
conditioning.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I always say that too. It's especially right now. I started my mental health journey when I was 22. I talked about all the abuse that my abuse started around age 2, and but it got worse as I got older, and but when I started my therapy at 22 years of age, I never told them about the boarding school situations. Never. I mean, I probably had told them, yeah, I went off to boarding school, and then going on to my abuse years later on when I was older. Um, and it was about 2 years ago when I started talking with my daughter about it. When they were around 12 and 13 years of age, maybe, I took them to the site where I lived in South Dakota, because I lived in an Indian
Wow.
camp.
Yeah.
And then I took them to where the boarding school was located, one of them, and explained to them, this is where I went to school. It was a boarding school, one fun place, but um, and I was telling my daughter the other day, standing in front of that building made me regress, because it was a bad experience. But I never told any of my therapists that part of my life, because you're conditioned and beat down to not ever speak about that. So it's going to be hard for Native American elderly people to come out and say, yes, this was done to me. This was, because it can get graphic, and it's embarrassing.
Shameful.
It's
Yeah.
very it's puts a lot of
Shameful.
shame, yeah, on because
Yeah.
in our time, it's something you don't talk about. And so,
Yeah.
they're not going to be willing to speak up about it.
Wow.
Some will, and it's going to be that some that's going to help bring the others out.
Yes.
So I
Yes.
think I truly believe that the elders, people my age, and even some younger, there was some younger than me, they're going to start coming out, and then it's
Yes.
really going to get
It's
it's going to
happening.
cross.
It's
It
happening.
is.
Yeah.
It is.
I see it's happening, and not a lot of people are seeing. And like my circle and like my community where I organize with, sometimes they're like looking at me like, I think, do you need a break or whatever? But I'm like, okay,
That's
like, don't minimize
sweet.
me, but I can freaking foresee it. And
Yes.
all throughout my life, I've sort of like all throughout my life, I only started admitting this as of recently, like maybe 2-3 years ago. But I started recognizing and started believing in myself enough that it's like, yo, you were younger and you were exposed to specific scenarios, and it's almost as if like I foresee like what was going to happen. But I'm not saying like I'm psychic or I can see into the future. I'm watching behaviors and I'm watching
Exactly.
patterns.
Yep.
And you're telling us already what you're doing with your behavior, but we're so freaking confused and distracted over here because
Yes.
you're pulling us apart with color, with age, with
Yes.
occupation, with class. And that right there is the socioeconomical cycle that we're in. And
Yep.
so
I
it's
Completely
freaking
agree with you.
happening and it's falling. And I like, so every time I get like worried, like right now I'm working on a police related murder case with a 16-year-old Micronesian boy. And so every time I get discouraged, I get stressed out, I get worried, I get fearful, I just remind myself, like, you know what, you can just sit here and the earth is already working for you. And that is like indigeneity to me, and that's belief and trust in our universe and in our mother earth and in our father sky. It's like knowing like, yo, you can just sit here and just breathe and things are high, it's falling, the patriarchy is melting.
She was just saying a visualization, you're like, it's falling. She was like, it's like you're holding a mirror and you drop it and all the pieces go. And it's like, now it's time to put it all together how we want.
And I always tell her it's the
Yes.
millennials now. It's the millennial age.
Yes.
It is. And I can
No.
tell her I see change myself. And so
Yes.
yeah, and then it's going to be that younger group like my grandson's age that's going to
Gen
start
Z.
demanding that, hey, yeah, this is
The
the way.
millennials.
Yep.
Yeah, the millennials are definitely changing the narratives and coming out and saying, no, you're saying mental health is like this thing that's not important. We're saying, F yes, it is.
Yep.
This is what's happening. And then the generation after and forward, we're just going to continue to keep on amplifying that and building structure. Because right now in my brain, I'm telling myself, like, because people are asking me, like, what should we do? How should we do it? And it's always like this halfway, like, use the structure that we've been working on, which is colonialism and patriarchy. Use it halfway, and I'm saying no, uproot, like, excuse my language, but uproot the beat, like uproot the whole thing and reroot us, like,
Exactly.
this is like seeded, this is seeds from generations before us, from our great grandparents' time, great great grandparents' time. And that's why we're so disconnected, because this was orchestrated from the start. And we're thinking like, oh, this just happened 20 years, 10 years, 50 years. Like, no, this has been like been it's but now I'm getting excited, but I just wanted to are you a millennial? Are you a millennial as well?
I am, yes.
Yes, because what I
Yeah.
wanted to say is, like, when I'm thinking about my structure of how I'm responding to all of this, because I tell myself, like, you have to take this seriously, but also, like, again, flowing with it. Not take it
Absolutely.
serious like I'm stressing out, but taking it serious like being responsible with it. And so the way I'm thinking about it is that my great grandmother was a young adult during World War II. She was actively on Guahan when they were occupied and they were taken over all those multiple times.
Jeez.
My grandmother was a child. She was 4 or 5 years old. So the possibilities of things that happened to her, it's just like all the violences that happened to my body, it sort of like melted away. And it made me want to be strong enough to not cry through my violence, to learn about what happened to her. But then, like, I say, like, and then my mother, she was a child after the war. And so she was getting the teaching and just the whole lifestyle of how it was barely after the war, putting things back together, still occupied and still colonized. And then there's us that are in the middle of like the whole thing with the war ending and the beginning of believing in mental health, believing
Yeah.
in speaking about things, believing in like loving ourselves and taking care of ourselves and boundaries. So I'm like, it's freaking like here, dude. And so I definitely have. I just wanted to amplify that. It's funny you say that because I think my guardian angels like put that out there again for you to say as well for to like tell me
Yeah.
because I'm still learning how to like believe in self, and there was definitely like a huge lack of self confidence, self belief, or self esteem, and so now I'm like getting there. I'm starting to comprehend, but
It's always a
I
process,
I keep
right?
saying,
Yeah.
yeah, I keep saying like it's this millennial time, especially with the access to technology. We're gonna be the ones to tell the elders, like, we want to listen to you. We're sorry we ignored you or ignored everything that happened in the past, not willingly, but
Yeah.
we didn't know. And
It
then
didn't
also
click.
telling the younger,
Yeah.
yes,
Mm-hmm.
yes. Yeah. And then also telling the younger generation too, like everything you're seeing on this internet stuff and the way the lifestyle it's wrong. So pause and let's get there. So yeah.
Yeah, and all the abuse and the negativity and everything that we've gone through, with uh, we have to think about my mother, and my father before that, what they
Yes.
went through, because that had an
Yes.
effect on me, and then what I had to endure
Generation.
had even more effect. So I think the millennials are they have to you all have to learn to
We have
uh,
access to the internet. So
you
it's
have
just kind of
access to
like,
that, yeah, and it's healing of yourself first, and then
Healing.
yeah, healing of yourself, and then unwrapping all that you had to go through because of what the government, like us, what the tearing, is stealing of our cultural, ways in our backbone, they
splitting us apart,
exactly.
causing violence, unnecessary violence. It's just,
And so I think that the millennial age is going to rebuild themselves and bring back the culture within themselves. And that in
Yep.
itself is going to make all of us, even stronger.
Yep.
When once we have our cultural ways, a lot of our cultural ways back, nothing will ever be the same, but I think it's going to really come back strong, within
Yeah.
all the different cultures and
well,
nationalities
like
and everything.
like you said, the indigenous peoples of different areas. Like I would love to see everybody like how we're doing now and just connecting and sharing our perspectives and saying, hey, these are very similar. So what are we going to do moving forward about this?
Yes.
Hmm.
Yeah, because
Yes.
they
And
keep going different places and doing the same thing to women and children. And it
that's
has
what
to stop.
my father was just telling me that yesterday because I was letting him know about this case with this young boy that I was doing, and he said nanny, which is baby girl in our language. He was like, do you think that do you see the trend here? And I wasn't even paying attention because see, like it's there's just so much different things, and that's why you were saying with the healing, it's crucial because
Mhm.
every time as a human we respond, we're going to be reacting and responding from a place that's unhealed.
Yes.
When it comes
Mhm.
to conversations like
Yes.
this, we're going to be so angry and so upset, and we've been waiting to get this out, that if we're not healing, and rightfully so, that we express in whatever way possible, but at the same token also teaching ourselves that we have to be like intentional, mindful, and just productive with everything we're doing, but also again learning to let it flow. But my father was telling me, it looks like a trend where first they were marching for the Black Lives Matter, and then it transferred over to like the Asians, and then different things. But I was telling him, if we paid attention before that, they've been had protesting before all of this. It's just barely now getting this like this mass media awareness because the internet and freaking TikTok. Like
TikTok.
Yeah.
TikTok is what
TikTok.
is doing it. TikTok is doing it. And like
Yeah.
I'm trying to find my balance with TikTok because like there's so much good with it, but I also see there's starting to be some bad stuff going on,
Some
and I'm just
toxicity.
watching like TikTok. Are you gonna do anything about this? Because I'm watching you, dude. Like there was that Adrian's kickback, and there were kids from all over the nation coming to Los Angeles, Huntington Beach, California, and then Los Angeles, all for this teenager's 16th birthday party. Posted it on TikTok. It went viral, and there was people from Paris, there was people from Washington, Austin,
What?
and it was crazy. The cops were at, and that's where I say like that's harmful more than it is helpful, because the kids were out here acting amok, and the police were over here and they were handling the kids. And so we need to let the, because then the kids are like, F the police, we don't need to
Yeah.
respect you, we're going to be partying and stuff. And at least for me, that's not what I want to be teaching my kids.
No.
Just because they're doing wrong or doing bad doesn't mean we're going to do the same thing. It's never going to be, that cycle is never going to break. We're going to keep on going in that circle. And what my grandma told me during the war is like, she says, you know what? I would still feed a soldier or help the soldier that is hurting me, because what if me being kind to him, even though he hurts me, might just save somebody else's own life? Because when you give love and kindness, you can never deny it. And that takes strength for someone to comprehend, understand, and apply.
Mhm.
Because it's like, we like, what? They're hurting us. But she's saying like, what if by your kindness you save someone else's life, or you save a whole village's life, because now you impacted that soldier, and that soldier is going to be like, realize this is not
Mhm.
okay.
You know, that's such a like indigenous mindset too, to come at it with love and compassion and understanding. And so I think that especially now coming from a place, I know we come from a place of like nonviolence because we want to get a message across, we want to reach people, and I think the best way to do that is coming at it in that fashion.
To always stay
Yeah,
positive, you know.
Well, I mean, there are
right.
negative
The
things to
negative
talk
things,
about,
yeah,
Will
but
come, yeah.
but you don't want to put negativity out there.
Right.
hatefulness. I think
Yeah,
hatefulness is
you
the
don't want
word.
that coming
Hatefulness.
back at you. And
Right.
when I'm on TikTok, that's all I always say too, is I want to keep it positive, you know. Not every day is hunky dory, but
Right.
but I don't want to say, yeah, go out there and do something that
Vandalize things and
yeah,
put yourself in danger and
Right. Yeah.
yeah,
Vandalize and burn buildings and stuff
yeah.
like that. That is not going to do anything.
Mm-mm.
And besides, we've been doing that for centuries. And
And it
the
hasn't
people
worked.
are the one going back out and cleaning up the trash and scrubbing off the graffiti and
Hmm.
cleaning the stores and stuff to help the people rebuild. But look at all that energy we're exerting if we really just pause and if we try and see how we can do it. And I really believe that our art as just indigenous people or people of color is going to be that one to speak, and it's not just going to be physical art. Some people are starting to already speak up in their music like they've never
exactly.
did before. It's always been like about
It shows.
drugs, females, cars, being famous, but now they're talking about violences on the body, protecting the water, protecting the land,
Hmm.
defunding the military. It's coming out in their songs, it's coming out in poetry, it's coming out in just talking in general. So I amplify everything y'all are doing because you guys are storytelling in multiple different ways, and it's just your truth. And there's
Mhm.
been so many lies and stigmas created because of our not blaming in our silences, but because we've been silent. So now like it's time for us to crank up the volume and just like
Exactly. And that's what I keep saying, with all the stuff going on in Canada, is that now they cannot turn that around. They can't hide it
nope,
anymore.
Can't deny
nope,
it. Can't deny it.
No.
Hard
no
facts, data.
sorry.
And
Yup.
me being a retired teacher, I want them to rewrite these books, and tell the truth of what they've done, because it's everything. And I mean, what little they did put out there was lies.
It was hardly anything.
Yeah, was always
Nothing at all.
savages, you know, and you can
Yes.
pick
Or
that
you
across
brush
the,
past it. I'm sorry, brush past it so fast. Like,
yeah.
oh,
Yes.
well, that wasn't a big deal then, I guess.
And you know, they can say, well, our military, we sent our military over here, we sent our military over there, and they were just this and they did that to us, but they don't tell about themselves. And
Yes.
so this is coming out, and it's going to come out in more different nationalities, you
Yes.
know, all across the board.
Yep.
People are going to start speaking up, and the truth is coming out now. So
I feel it like in my
mhm.
chest and in my
Yep.
heart. That's
Uh-huh.
why, like, I'm so proud of myself because a year ago, like I said, I would get stressed out, I would get angry, I would physically hurt myself. And another thing that I've been learning with healing and doing this work and my anger is I'm starting to understand, and it ties into my peoples as well, which ties into all peoples, I believe, is that our emotions are like definitely 1,000 times unlimited more important than our literal like intelligence. Our emotional intelligence is way more important than our IQ. Like I feel like when I'm getting angry and frustrated, like I've noticed that I will get super weak right after,
Mm-hmm.
or like I'll
It's
get like
draining.
dizzy, or I'll just feel like super drained. And of course it's like duh, yeah, because you're putting out all this energy. But now I'm tying that into just who we are as a people. And I'm also studying a lot of sitting with some activists or organizers who show up and when like the waters is being compromised or the land, because there was one woman who just continuously shows up and continuously shows up. She actually had multiple seizures during that time frame, and she's
Whoa,
believing
stress.
that the overstress on her
Mm-hmm.
body is causing that. So not only are we like teaching our people to speak up, but also teaching us like this is why I believe like we can do the most we can, but the best we can do is sit and like breathe and center with like our inner child and just our energy and our spirit, and like the earth is gonna like do. We don't understand and comprehend like what the earth can
It's
do.
coming. It's coming.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get a good feeling, you know. It's a lot of work for me to get up there sometimes and talk about it. Um, and you know, my biggest fear for a while was, okay, here comes the woman that's always talking about the same old thing. What happened to her? What happened to her? But people need to know this so that it does not get repeated, you know.
Yes.
And so our thing, especially now, is to give them visuals so that they have
Yes.
something to think about, you know,
Yes.
because just telling them, just
Oh, let me show.
giving them numbers, you know, saying, okay, this amount of number of children's remains were found, they're not going to get it.
Yeah.
So now we're starting with visuals, and that's where a lot of our art is coming in.
Peek at the
Yes.
PR wall. Those are
You can see that. And
Wow.
these are what we have yet to go. We're not even finished putting them on that map.
Wait, I'm sorry. It was cutting out when you were saying, but what is the map for?
It's to pinpoint where the Indian boarding schools were.
Wow.
yeah. So these
Okay.
ones that we have plotted, and then these are what's left to go. So if you just take a look at, one of these is like a few hundred kids or a few thousand
Yes.
kids.
Yeah,
So
that's
Yes.
just a boarding school that we pinpointed. That doesn't count for how many students went to that school, you know.
Right. Yeah.
so we're finding a lot of people having that visual. It makes a lot more sense to them because I'm a visual learner. I have to
Yes.
see things, and so it's been really people are getting it more.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
No, and I definitely encourage y'all to continue with the visuals and tying that in with your stories, having your voices or stories from people before or stories that y'all sit with, because with the visuals and then with the stories tied in, it's personal now. It's
Mhm.
not on the news on CNN and it's
Exactly.
just this news reporter, randomly telling us and just telling us, just reporting it as news, but you're
Yes.
talking about a person and their story and their life. So
Yes.
we need more, we need more power. It needs to come from somebody who's going to put more respect and energy into it, like this. So I think that even a TikTok of you guys showing that map and all of those, and like
Yeah.
we're not even halfway here, and people, I would be like what? Like
Yeah.
it's amazing.
So, yeah, and I talked to my sister. I have a sister. She's 80 years old, or 79, going to be 80. And I share videos, in the TikTok with her and stuff. And she's gone through so much trauma herself, being married at 12, 13 years of age.
Yeah.
And she always asked me, "How do you remember all this?" Because I mean, I was in diapers, when she was married. And I told her, well, I really don't know how I remember it, but I guess it's just different things that took place that really
Like,
triggered me.
mhm.
And it just made a big imprint on my brain because I talked with my brothers, and said, "Do you remember this? Do you remember that?" And they say, "Well, kind of, yeah, but I don't remember all of it." Um, but I told my sister, I share TikToks and YouTube videos with her, and she says, "I like to watch them, but they make me cry."
Mhm.
And I
Yeah.
said, "Yeah, but it's part of healing." And so I told her I'm going to go on holiday to see her. And I said,
Yeah.
her and I is going to do a TikTok or a video together. And she
Yeah.
said, "I don't know if I don't know what to talk about." I said, "Well, you and I will just talk like sisters sitting there talking,
Yeah.
visiting." And,
Yeah. Tell
as
her
you,
the kids want to hear her.
yeah, exactly. And
We
so,
want to hear these things, and we're sorry we didn't comprehend or realize that like
mhm,
this was important to hear before, because I was suffering with a lot of guilt or grief, or just
mhm,
being hard on myself because I didn't dig into my heritage or my culture like I should have or paid attention to. But that's a part of healing and being kind to myself, to know that I wasn't doing it back then. I was like what you said earlier, Neela, coping
interesting.
skills.
Yeah.
We were just coping with different
Self-medicating. Yeah.
things, self-medicating throughout time. But now I'm unlearning and relearning as well. So we want to hear from y'all.
Another thing we want to do is so we want to get the machine, and then we want to hit up Oklahoma and probably her schools that she went to, first and foremost, just because there were so many in Oklahoma. But she wants to get together with other survivors and have a conversation, sit down, just record it so that, people can also be a part of it and do artwork together, like do an art project together. And I know a lot of people, some people are like, well, I'm not an artist. And, we firmly believe everyone's an artist. You just have
Yeah.
to tap into it and check it
Hmm.
out. And so I
Yeah.
think those would be very valuable and meaningful conversations.
And I
Yes.
think it's important to listen to and I keep saying this over and over on TikTok and videos. It's important that we stay busy with this and keep going so that people can hear our truth. We're elderly people. Our time is, we don't have years upon years. And so when we pass, that goes with us. And one of
Yes.
the things I'm afraid the government is going to say is, well, they're not here, to speak for themselves.
We don't know what
Yeah.
really happened.
And
It didn't
right
come out
now,
of their mouth.
I'm
Right.
live evidence. It did happen. And so that's
Right.
why
Yeah.
the one of the things I want to get out there and really do, because they can't tell me I'm a liar because I'll keep going. I know what happened.
Yeah. Oh
It
my
was,
gosh, I love it.
it was torture.
Yeah.
I mean, what they did to me. No child
Yes.
should ever have to go through that. Nobody, even an adult should not, you
Yeah.
know?
Right. Yeah.
So, and that's why we stick a lot of visuals there, is because people don't realize how little children were, how small we were,
Right.
what they did to us. Um, and, the millennials, a lot of them are angry. They have a right to be angry. But
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
if they just, reharness that, because I
Yes.
know millennials went through
Mhm.
an abuse, themselves because of what the parents went through. And we were
Yes.
all conditioned to keep that
Yes.
silent. Just bury it, don't bring it up, don't mention it, move
Yeah,
along.
so if you're burying
Very
all
important
that,
word, conditioned.
yeah, if you're burying all that, it's going to manifest in different ways and it's going to affect the people around you. So,
So you just have
Well,
to
that's
start
what,
peeling that back, you know,
yeah,
and find
yeah,
yourself culturally. If you find
yes.
yourself
Thank you.
culturally, you start getting stronger.
I have been, I want to, like, again, see, this is just, all of this is just divine intervention right here and orchestrated, like not of this human earth, because I have been struggling a lot. Like when I first came out to the United States and left my motherland, I was 18 years old. So of course I was excited young adult, like this big new world. Like I didn't have this on my tiny little island in the middle of literally the big Pacific Ocean. So I was so excited and everything, but I wasn't realizing. And so like what you said as well, Neela, is that these things, they manifest in different way, and it has manifested. It's manifested in our people depending on substances, on alcohol, on abusing our women and our children and our men as well, in all these different ways. And also like you were saying as well, is that the government will tell us like, oh, the elders are not here anymore to tell us, because that's happening in Guam right now is trying to fight for opportunity for the elders, to get support in many different ways from the war. And now that people are actually making noise, they're like asking, well, where's the people? Because the people that are here, they're still too traumatized to speak, and the people that probably would have spoke, they're already gone. A lot of them are already gone. So that's why we're really depending like on the younger people, to wake up, because for some reason, I don't know what's going on, but the more I learn, the more I understand with my mother, because a lot of these things that I do, I share it with my mom and she encourages me, and she tells me like she's happy. But when it comes to me connecting with her and wanting for me to ask her questions about sexual abuse, about substance abuse, she shuts down. And there's still that little girl in me that's still hurting, so I still need to work on that. But because before I would become angry, and then after I would understand, but I would become silent and distant, so that was still hurting us. And so now I'm just trying to be understanding to both myself and my mom, and take it one day at a time, and continue to do the work in me, because when I continue to do the work in me, I see it reflecting on my mom and in my mom as well. And when I saw your story about the boarding schools, and when you shared that you're age 2, my abuse, I was and just like awareness that I'm gonna just talk about it openly. But I was sexually abused when I was 5 years old, and when I heard your experience 2 years ago, I would have been crying. I would have like went out, drank alcohol, went with girls, and like did sexual relations I shouldn't be doing to put my energy into that. But when I heard your story, it like this fire, like it just fanned this fire in me to hear age 2. And so my age 5, my little 5-year old in me, it's almost as if like that was so painful to hear from you, but it also healed me, because I was like, I don't want that to happen to her. I don't want that to happen to him. I don't want that to happen to nobody. So, like you said, transforming our anger into this energy that puts into our message, our craft. So,
and the more people treat their trauma, like our age group going forward, her age group, just people treat their trauma, the less and less we're going to see these abuses done
yes,
onto ourselves, because that's what was taught. That's what was taught to them for so long.
behavior.
And that's how, when you're angry, you do this. When you're sad, you
Yes,
do this. And so, we were learning through behavior. We do
yes.
this and
And it's our turn to
did
write.
it differently.
And I think that with carrying and dragging that abuse around, and for myself, knowing, well, it was a man that took advantage of me. They did this and they treated me like trash and then called me dirty names when I was a little girl. But I drug that around so much for so many years. It affected every relationship that I ever had. Where I got to a point where I just shut down. I'm like,
Yeah.
nope. I was on a
Learn
mission. I'm going to
behavior.
do this, and I did it. And then I said, nope, nobody's going to touch me after that. So it
Yeah.
destroys your relationships, with any partner, regardless if it's a bad partner or a good partner. It's still it's
Friendships.
going to in friendships. It's going to
Friendships. Yeah.
manifest itself within all of that.
Family relationships, which is something that Pacific Islanders, and I'm not saying exclusively to Pacific, but speaking as a Pacific Islander, it's something as Pacific Islanders really lack as far as like boundaries and standing up to yourself to these relationships or these things. But that's the thing is we're so miseducated
Mm-hmm.
with it, or even I dare to say uneducated in it, not at all as well, because our culture is family orientation, taking care of each other, taking care of like even the stranger. Okay, they stole from you, they did this, it's okay. Like, you know what I mean? Like, figure out a way where you guys can coexist or whatever, but still take care or help them and send them on their way. If it's something where you feel unsafe, where you feel that is not, still help them, but send them on their way. And I think that's so beautiful and great. But when it comes to our family, it's crucial for us because that cultural belief is harming the kids more than helping them.
Mm-hmm.
When you tell us to take like, oh, you, why are you crying, you want me to give you something to cry about? And I know that's in like all cultures, but again, like just speaking for the Pacific Islanders, like the kids have to like just be silent to it, but then we grow up angry, we run away from our parents or whatever the case is, when we're not recognizing that even that if you're crying, I'll give you something to cry about, that seems to be a learned reaction from the war, because some of the elders tell that if you say anything that they don't want to hear, they'll hit you, they'll beat you with the gun, they'll strip you, they'll abuse you physically. Sometimes I even heard a story from a woman in Africa where she was asking challenge provoking people to think, do you wonder why African Americans are the race that's most likely against gays? It's not for nothing. Back when they were occupied, I don't want to say the wrong thing, but the men that were there, they would it was a form of it was a form of to like
Punishment.
embarrass them,
Yeah.
so punishment, so they would publicly abuse their bodies in front of the men, the women and children, to show them not to mess around with them like that. And so then eventually throughout time, that's why they would get angry of it or abuse themselves or the women as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that was an interesting thing and tied in a lot to other
You know,
places.
yeah, a lot of this colonization had to do with tearing apart families
Yes.
and either assault, target one, the man, the woman, the child, whoever, tear apart the family, make them weak because that's like you said, the culture is so strong and together and knitted close and there was a sense of community and everyone was safe and they took care of each other. But if you tear that apart, then you're isolated, you're alone, you don't know what to believe, and it's just a mess.
And I think that
And that's
they
where control.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
because they fractured the cultural ways
Yeah.
just a little bit. They
Yep.
fractured
Just enough
the family values just enough to scare the hell out of some people. And
Yeah.
then
to
they see,
comply.
hey, this works, and then they went full force with it. What better way to get somebody's attention? Rape a child, beat them, uh, culturally injure them, take their language away from them,
the
because
land the land in Guam, we were
oh god,
listening to a man. He was like, I'm connected to this land because this is, I mean, as you say, this is my motherland, my homeland. You are connected to earth, you are connected to Mother Earth and the land that you come
Yeah.
from. And it is very similar to the Native Americans on the mainland, taking that land and using it for whatever they wanted, and in Guam, just taking that land and using it to militarize it and whatever they
Yeah.
wanted. Like, you don't matter. Your wealth of your children and your bloodline, it doesn't matter. This is for national security. It's always for excuse my language, fucking national security. They're gonna
Mhm.
bomb Syria. They're gonna take land from here. They're gonna
Marshall
colonize this area
Islands.
for national security. It's always, and it's like, who are we
Oh my
securing
gosh.
against? Like, because we're just,
Yeah,
They're helping them secure themselves against us,
yeah,
basically,
right.
because they
we're
keep
not helping.
fracturing
We're
us.
not helping.
Yeah,
We're being,
they use us, yeah, to no extent. I mean, there's no boundary with them, and
Right.
so it has to stop because I mean, they're you. And you can see how they've just danced around all these different
Yeah.
places doing the
That's what my
same
dad
thing. Yep.
That's what my dad was saying as well. And he said, Chelsey, like, are you paying attention to the fact that this is starting to, there's starting to be an uprise all throughout the globe? And I was like, in this moment, I haven't been listening. I've been so hyper focused in this new case with this child, but it has been something. That's why before I used to be afraid to say, because we lost people. We lost like a lot of good people, both by dying. We've lost just people in general, and we've lost people in our community, in our jobs, like doctors and nurses, and they quit or they left in social services because of the pandemic. But there was something that I wanted to say to that as well. Oh, I before I used to be fearful to say it, but now I say that this pandemic, even if people say that it was planned and orchestrated by man, which it may have been, so it was, or there is divine energy in this, and they are not effing allowing it anymore. And
Mhm.
that's why the world was put on pause, because we've been effing up pre 2020 and we've been ignoring it. We've been expanding with technology and social media in the past 5 years. So we've been being exposed to these areas that don't have media coverage
yes,
or choose not to have media coverage. And people in these areas are showing us through social media. We were still ignoring it, or it will show and then got on to the next
exactly.
day. Then what happened to the people? Oh, we don't know. There's no coverage there. But now there's so much coverage, and that's why I say, like, this pandemic, and that's why, like, again, before I used to be so fearful, like, the world's gonna end, what's gonna happen, are we gonna burn, are we gonna drown, I don't know what's that, all these prophecies and different things. And I have to say, you know what, like, who you truly are, and like, just the spirit in you, like, you cannot be fearful, because the people will always be taken care of. And even if we see through literal centuries that we haven't been, or like we've been going through these things, we had to. So like now my abuses and all of that, like, it sounds so like, why would you say that you had to go through that? But because some of my people are not talking about it, some of my people are accepting it, they're normalizing it, they're believing in their brain and in their cellular structure that this is normal and we have to take it. But I'm saying, F you, we're not taking it.
It's not the
And
only way. Yeah.
yeah, it's not the only way. And from that, it's awakening. And I want to be respectful to your time, y'all's time, because we've been here. So I'm just moving with you guys as far as time. I wanted to I mean, we've been sharing about your experience with the residential schools, but I wanted to learn a little bit more about that. And then also like, again, with my practice and with my work, it's all surrounded around stories and conversations. So
Mm-hmm.
I always, when I get connected with people, I don't want to like disconnect. I'm still going to be messaging you guys, like,
Yeah,
I see what you
please
guys are
Yeah.
do.
doing,
Yeah.
Stay in
amplifying.
touch.
We love
um
connecting also.
Mhm.
It's what we do.
And we're stronger in numbers.
yeah,
I
and that's what
believe
I
that.
was. And I was gonna say that you said something earlier. Oh, finding victims and stories. So I haven't told anybody this because I've been being so silent with what I'm doing, because I'm always telling everyone what I'm doing, and it doesn't go the way I sometimes like just need to keep things to myself. But I feel like I need to tell y'all this. And one thing that I'm doing is I'm doing the same thing and trying to organize victims and people who've experienced these things and combine a compilation and an archive of our stories. So like on you guys' website and stuff, or whatever you guys are doing, I hope to see in the near future, like just different stuff that you guys are doing with different people, because your TikTok and your website can be an archive space
Yeah,
where different cultures, different areas of the world can come together talking about the exact same thing, because then
exactly.
that's going to educate the stigma, like, oh, this wasn't right for the government to do, but we believe that this was right. And now all these people are coming out saying, sharing their experiences. And those experiences, even if you believe, like, I'm going to believe my president or my government, when we speak our stories just like, just like
Yep.
overcome you, and it just opens you. So
With the
I
internet and the word of mouth, everybody's going to start opening their eyes and their ears,
yeah,
and people are going to start questioning
yep,
what's surrounding them, what happened to them culturally, and they're going to start digging around. And,
yeah, 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 yeah.
yeah, because people can connect now. I wish we would have had this a long time ago, where we
That's
could just
That's what I always try to say when I get on a Zoom. I say, like, thank you, Zoom guys, and thank you for the technology, because my grandparents weren't able to sit and talk to somebody from a whole nother state and say,
Mhm,
hey, I'm going through the same thing as you, or this is what happened to my people as well.
mhm.
So yeah, I want to have sections like on the website,
Yep.
like sexual abuse, Native American, like I have like a specific
Mhm.
section for
Uh-huh.
Native Americans to literally share everything, the land, the water, these boarding schools. I have education,
Yep.
because the United States, it just, the way Guam was, education was weaponized to the
Yep.
children.
Mhm.
It
Mhm.
wasn't
Yep.
utilized to teach us and
Mhm.
to be what it was. It was utilized against us. And I'm saying that because I had a hard time in school. And now I'm going back to school, but now I have a purpose for school.
Mhm.
Before I did it because I was told I had to have a degree to get this thing and to do that thing and have a good life. And I rebelled against that because I'm like, no, I don't. But now I'm utilizing it because there are some things that I can't learn in the streets that are in higher education, but I don't put higher education over my spirit. It's just another tool.
It's really interesting that you talk about that because it seems like everyone was so isolated from each other, especially Guam. I mean, it's literally out there, just isolated from each other. And so something like that, like you said, like an archive somewhere, a platform for people to go, because I know sometimes people can say, oh, those natives, they're just always
Yeah,
complaining about the same thing. And it's like,
yeah,
well, if you look at the data, you can see this doesn't add up. This is incorrect. This is
yeah,
wrong. This is crimes against humanity. It's not
yes,
right.
Mhm. And
yes,
and you could go across and see how many um, cultures they just went through and destroyed their dance, their music, their beliefs,
yes,
Tried to destroy.
everything.
yes, yes, yeah.
And languages,
So
some languages are gone totally. Native.
my language, I mean, admittedly so, and again, like self hurt, like I hurt myself by self talk, by saying, how could you let your language go, how could this and that. But my language as well, there was a census, I think, for 2018, and about it recorded about less than 2,000 people checking that they can fluently speak the language. Now I know that number is not direct because there's some people that didn't take the
Mhm.
census,
Yeah.
but I mean, we can physically see it. Everyone's
Yeah.
talking English in our family circles or whatever. It was always the elders. It was always like my grandparents, even
Mhm.
though they knew English, when they were talking to each other or when they were talking to us or whatever the case was, it was always through speaking our tongue. And the Chamorro language, actually, it wasn't even documented until like the late, like mid 1900s, or if I'm not mistaken.
Mhm.
So like following behind our linguistics as well, I'm also starting to see that maybe our language never was meant to be documented, like written down, more so like listened to and
Mhm.
like felt, maybe. I know that's like language. I'm not used to saying that language, like feel what I'm saying, like, but I think
I
that
understand what you're
I'm,
saying. Hmm.
yeah, I'm starting to see more of that with the Chamorro, because it's been again influenced throughout time, when the Japanese and the Spanish and everyone touched down on Guam. But before that, there was no documentation. But how were the
Mhm.
people understanding each other or talking or communicating? And when I listened to the stories, a lot of it was through sitting down and verbally talking with each other, or like just understanding each other's energy without
Mhm.
words, like
Mhm.
what we feel without verbally expressing.
it's
Yeah.
it's such a human. I was telling her it's such a native thing, but then also it's just such a human being thing to sit down
Yep.
together and share those stories and that knowledge. And I think that's the beauty of TikTok. Like you were saying, it's just so quick information and it's everybody
Yeah.
everywhere. So you're like, oh hell
Yeah.
yeah, I'm at a campsite, I'm at a campfire with someone I would have never been with, because we
Mhm.
were so
Yeah.
dispersed, it seemed.
Yeah, and with
Right.
language, a lot of us, that are survivors, native people here in from boarding schools and stuff. Um, I used to speak to my mom and my auntie and uncle all the time, and but then so many times I got whooped. And they said, "I'm gonna beat the hell out of you till you can't speak another word," and they did.
Yeah.
And but then, as older, in my 20s and up, I started remembering words or little phrases and repeat them. I kept repeating them, repeating them. And I would ask my brother-in-law, because he spoke fluently, and I'd ask him, "What does this mean? What does this mean?" And he would tell me. And so
Yeah.
now when I have a word that comes back to me, that's what I do with my children. Say this, or I'll tell my
Right.
grandson, say this word, and
Yeah.
keep, repeating it so
Keep
that
it
it's
going.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And I've been encouraging myself also to continue to learn my language, and especially like the real like original language of it, which again, a lot of people don't know how to teach or write down, but they
Yeah,
will speak it.
yeah.
And um I tell myself and everyone else, like, it's not just through, you don't have to sit down and listen to a teacher if that's not your learning style. You can listen through songs, you can read
Mhm.
poetry that are written in it, you can read books or whatever the case is. But just as long as we're even one tiny word every single day getting it into our mind, because then it starts to encourage us to continue to read more.
You
But
know, you guys say you could do meetups. I was thinking about people meeting up and then you cook a meal together so you learn like the doing
yeah,
words and then the food words and then you eat the food together and try to have a conversation and
together.
learn that way. I feel like that's how I would learn best.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because I want to learn Lakota myself, but
yeah,
I'm like, ooh,
Mhm.
learning a new
And
language
yeah.
is hard. It is hard. It's
It's
hard.
and
yeah,
for me, when I say it, for me the words come easy, even though I
mm,
don't remember everything, but
There's muscle memory there.
yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. I feel
And
like it's in
so
your structure.
yeah, and to me, it makes me feel good. It makes I start getting where it builds more confidence within me that hey, they didn't take it all away from me. And
Yes.
one of the things I really want to encourage you, even though your mother or somebody, an elder that you're speaking to, if they're not comfortable speaking about the sexual abuse or whatever, even just getting documentation, recorded, videoing them, talking about good times that made them happy. And because I can pretty much guarantee you, they're going to say, we were doing this and we have this going on. And then all of a sudden, it'll say, but I remember a time when this started ending. And then they're going to start pouring out information to you about
True.
really, and it's not forced and it's not going at it a sneaky way. It's just getting them comfortable
Yeah.
in themselves that it's okay. You can talk about good things. You can talk
Yeah.
about bad things. Um,
That's how it started with you because
mhm.
I was trying to get for her business a little more about herself and she started talking and then all of a sudden it was 3 hours later and was like, "Oh, I didn't know any of this. We need to look
Yes.
into this."
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I've actually experienced that as well. You know what? I thank you for I want to pause and slow down because my brain is getting super excited because it's so passionate about this. But
I feel like we're very
I
much the
want
same.
yeah, I want to thank you though because my relationship with my mom and it's been up and down. But I no longer blame myself and I no longer blame her
Mhm.
because she just has been teaching what she was taught and what she knew. And my
Mhm.
grandparents were just doing what they were taught and what they knew. And what I can say is whatever things, as a kid where it's like, you want to whip me like, oh, I don't like you. And
Yeah.
but now it's like I will take all of that like discipline or teaching or whatever because it has made me a respectable young lady. I'm out here and even though you're not my grandparent, like I'm going to get up and open the door with you. And there's some kids
Mhm.
out here where it's like they're hitting elders and it's like I'm usually balanced where I'm like understanding, but when it's like with that kind, I just want to take my shoe and like throw it to you. Like, what are you doing? And where is your parent? Because I would love to throw a shoe at them too. Like, what are we get? So I think it's just I think we need to differentiate that stuff where it's like, oh, my parents, they're being like rough on me or they don't like me or they're picking on me. It's not all gonna be perfect. But when you think about that balance of like loving you, taking care of you, like giving you water, clothes, food, those basic things, that is very important. So I thank you because, yeah, my relationship with my mom and I felt like I had to do a lot of the mothering. And I
Mhm.
never really like recognized that or use that language like I'm mothering my parent. But
Mhm.
now I am. And I'm balancing that where it's like, there's just some things that I'm not going to reach within her and I have to be okay with that.
Yeah.
So that's
Mhm.
when I talk to like the little girl in me and I say you just parent yourself, do what you can within yourself and the rest will I have faith that the rest will fall
Yeah.
together. So
And
that's
talk to her about
important.
her good times because it's so
Yeah.
healing to for elderly people to remember the fun times. You
Yeah.
know what they considered a good time or just to laugh, and dance. Because I do that with my sister. She won't talk about her trauma, but when I
Mm,
tell her, remember when we used to dance, because she loved Hawaiian
yes.
dancers all the time. She would tie a dishcloth, one of the flower bags, around her hips and dance, mimic their dance. And
Yeah.
then I would talk about my brothers, how, one would dance, and then my other one was real shy. But we all, and it was fun, and we laughed about it. And, she cried a little bit. And I said, it's okay,
Yeah.
because we got to share those good times.
And
Yes.
I will say too, we have worked on our relationship a lot.
Yeah, a lot.
So it's definitely something that is not only healing for the child, how you say, like the inner child of you, like I feel you. And it's like it's not only healing for that, it's healing for her, it's healing for me, it's healing for my offspring and our line continuing, because it's like, okay, we're gonna cut these poisons out of here and
Yes.
try to make something different.
Because, I'm going to tell you one of the things that was really eye opening for me is to think that, okay, I knew how my mother treated me, but she was only in my life for 4 years. And then I was out, amongst family and foster families and whatever. So I picked and chose what I thought was supposed to be normal and healthy.
But
And
what you
that's,
were looking at was all
yeah, it was
dysfunctional.
all dysfunctional anyway, but it was what I thought was good or normal. And so when I had my children, I did what I thought was healthy and normal.
Yeah.
But to hear your child say you were abusive, that was an eye opener for me. And I'm like, what did I do? What did I do? Because to me, I thought I did okay, but I didn't. And I'm accepting now when she says you were abusive, you abused me, whether it be verbally, physically, whatever it was. Um, at least I can talk to her and say, how do you think that I abused you? What did I do wrong? And she's able to tell me. That in itself is healing,
Yes.
you know?
Just having that conversation and saying it out loud.
And
And
it takes it out of us.
mhm.
Emotionally we're like drained for a couple of days, but it's like you got to clean out that wound in
Yep.
order for it to heal.
And I
Mhm.
always say, if you know better, you do better. But you have to dig deep down in yourself and be accepting of it too.
Yeah.
Just to say, okay, well, I did this and it's, I thought that was right. And, go on about it. That's not, no, because then you're not hearing what she has to say or,
Yeah.
the child has to say. And like I said, it opened me up to think, well, I thought I did great, but it makes you think about, yeah, it was a taught behavior, and that's
Yeah.
not an excuse, but you
Right.
have to make it, you have to correct it and
Mm.
say, I'm sorry,
Yes. Yes.
and that's not how I wanted it to be,
Yes.
and so if you know better, you do better. So just make
Right.
sure you don't do it to a grandchild,
Yeah.
you know,
Yes.
you can't do this, or this is the way you're supposed to
Yeah.
do it, you have to let
Yeah.
them be free, and there's some freedom in there, and you just have to be accepting of it, and it's hard for elderly people to hear that,
Yeah.
it's hard for a parent to hear that, because
Yes.
all around you you hear people say, well, I thought you was a fantastic parent, you were a good parent, but deep in your here you're like, no, we're going to question that,
Nobody's
Yeah.
perfect.
no.
Yeah, it's not gonna be perfect,
Yeah.
and we don't even. And that's what I try to like share with my mom as well too. But I'm also learning to like, there's this. I think there's a psychological fact that when you're like saying too much, you're insecure about not believing in what you're saying, or you think that people are not going to believe you, so you overshare.
Overshare,
So
yeah.
I'm trying to like tell myself that I want to express to my mom that I love you either which way, even though I shared with you about this and that, and you're going to question, where was I? What was I doing? Why was I paying attention? I try to tell her, like, because I'm sharing this, it's not to put you down or make you feel bad as a parent. It's to talk about it so that we can better heal it, like what you were saying, Mila, because we are going to come back to it again, but at least this time this wound is healed, it's
Mhm.
covered, and it's in a better space to communicate effectively.
Yeah.
Yep. There's more understanding there.
More
You know.
understanding.
Yep. And so that's one of the things I'm still learning at 70 years old. But at
Yeah.
least I know that I'm hearing her,
Yeah.
and
It's always a process. There's always progress, and like you said, I'm not sure if we're gonna get there, and we've had those moments too, and just
mhm,
I think just keeping going, and
Whatever small way.
yeah, and
and
because you deserve validation too.
mhm.
Everyone deserves validation for their feelings and what they went through.
Yeah.
There's a lot of times that I will say something, or get snarky or whatever, and then I'll think to myself, why did I react that way?
Mm.
What, not looking for an excuse, but looking for a reason.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And then I come back to her and I apologized to her and I said, I didn't understand why I reacted the way I did, but this is what I was feeling, you
Yeah,
know.
I think
that's
there's
actually healing and shadow work in itself.
Hmm.
Healing your younger self from that root
Yes,
of that learned behavior.
yes.
That's actually, yeah, that's shadow work in itself. So doing, because I actually see now the angels are talking to you, telling for me to do the shadow work, because there's some questions that I wrote down of why certain things, that why I get upset or frustrated with my mom. But
Hmm.
that right there is addressing you're reparenting and relearning by
Exactly.
addressing
Yeah.
that.
Because I know in my lifetime I have to correct myself. I have to make changes in order to know that she's going to grow up even older to be even a stronger woman, a stronger advocate for my people. And so if
Mm,
I don't,
a
if I just,
continuation.
yes, and if I just keep it
yeah.
packed and say, well, let her figure it out for herself. No, that's not right. That's not
Well,
right.
There's
and
levels to this.
yeah,
Yeah.
another thing too is that Indigenous people really have to put in the work for our family ties because we were so rattled and turned against one another and just put in these really toxic situations. So we have to teach ourselves how to reconnect and how do we want to have this relationship. And I was telling her, my son's 12. I'm waiting for the day when he's 25, 30, and he comes to me, he's like, this that you did and that's that you said to me, this really hurt me, that traumatized me, this did, because I was dealing with my own trauma too as a younger parent. And it's just we have to be open to each other before
Yeah.
anything else.
So,
Yeah.
and I think it's important to ask them what are you feeling? What did you feel like when, this took place, or what are you feeling
That's
like now,
shadow work. Yep.
and to at least get some insight and say, I need to correct this, and
Yes.
I think culturally, we're all strong people.
Hmm.
We
Yes.
always have been. Yep. I think we believe too much in always maybe being too nice, too accepting, that we got taken advantage of. But
Yes.
it's coming now. It's not. It's going to come to an
Hmm.
end. No
Yeah.
more. No more of being nice and taking advantage of me. That's over. You know.
Yeah, I'm like losing my mind over here because I'm that kid like all throughout my life with my cousins, my siblings. Well, not my siblings because they were a little older when they had their kids, but like my cousins or my nieces or nephews, whatever. I was always like the babysitter in the family, always
I
taking
was.
care of children, always like when there's a problem with the children, they're always bringing them to me. The parents are like, how can you communicate and talk to them? They want to like throwing things at me, slamming the door in the face. And it's like, it's the energy. Like they already know you're upset at them. So they're going to naturally respond with the same process. My mom's upset at me. My dad's upset at me. I'm going to be upset at them because it's not unfair. Okay, the child
Mirroring.
is not listening.
Hmm.
I'm going to be upset at them because they're not listening and respecting me. It's just a circulation. It took me a long time to tell my mom, no, you're not gonna, because again, there's just so many different things, and I have two brothers. So sometimes I feel as the girl that the mom and the girl should have this bond in this relationship, and it's there. And I'm not saying like it's absent, but I definitely felt that way when I was younger. That was because I didn't know certain things and specific things. So now that my mom is talking to me a little bit more, it's starting to make more sense. And I understand her at that age, in that time, what she was going
Hmm.
through, what she knew. But nonetheless, also I like to uplift my mom and tell her just how big it is, and sometimes overexert myself in that way, because when we speak or communicate as a mother as to a daughter, or as a grandparent to a grandchild, we are literally ending and healing silence, intergenerational silences,
Exactly.
intergenerational, because it's
Yep.
passed down from
Yep.
time to time to time. So even you all talking about your healing as well, you're doing intergenerational healing, and it may feel like it was like, oh, it was just this small thing, but in reality, just speaking out loud is just putting volume to the very long years of silence. So
Hmm.
Yeah.
now I feel really strong that even though things are not met, I'm grateful that something is being talked about, because
Hmm.
at least it's being talked about.
Yeah.
Hmm. Yep.
Systemic trauma changes our DNA. So
Yes.
it's like it's there, so it has to be addressed.
Hmm.
Yes.
And it it's I feel that, and I hate to say, because I don't like when somebody says, oh, I'm sorry about that, when something happens, or they say, did I say something, it's okay, or that is not acceptable, you know and I find that out more for myself, that you don't just tell people, I'm sorry, did I hurt your feelings, I'm sorry, no, you don't come at people like that, because that's even more offensive. That's just pouring
Yeah.
salt in the wound.
Like just,
Government.
oh, I
Yeah.
don't care. I just
Yeah.
wanna say I
Just
did
go
it
away
just
Yeah.
now. Just go
yeah.
away.
You'll be all
Are
right.
you satisfied now? Like I
But
don't care, but are you satisfied?
yeah. And that's how I feel when I, just say, well, I'm sorry, and I'm like, that ain't fitting, It's not making me feel good. So how the hell is it gonna make her feel good,
Yeah.
And so I have to sometimes come and explain to her, well, I had to rethink myself and dig into myself and say, why did I act this way?
It's a
And
process. It's all a
then
process.
come back and say, well, now I understand why I was like I was. That's not an excuse. But, I, I'm sorry if I made you feel this way. That is, to me, the older she gets, it's more important to me that I don't take her feelings for granted,
And it goes both ways
you
too.
know,
I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
because, yeah,
Yeah.
we've had some real struggles as mother and
Yeah.
daughter,
But we made it through
but
it.
and we're still working. We're working on, it's when you have so many taught behaviors and you've packed crap down for so many years, it
Yep.
just really, it's
It's
never,
difficult. It's
you're
really
always
difficult.
working, always, always, always,
Yeah.
There's sometimes I wake up and I'm like, oh, why was I dreaming this? Okay, there's got to be meaning
Yeah.
behind this. And I start digging around. Okay, well, I got to fix this,
Right.
So,
Yeah. Definitely.
yep. But um, I like the conversation with you. It's always good. It's good to meet new people. And
Yeah, we were saying we were really excited to like meet you because I'm like, I've been texting with this person and I feel like
Yeah.
we're very similar in
yeah,
ways. So yeah, it's really good to
Yeah,
connect.
definitely. I'm glad that we were able to sit and meet too. I again, I not only wanted to just hear and amplify, and like I said again, something with my culture, it's just, and I think me as a learner too, but that just comes back to like who I am as a person, is it's like I can communicate and understand through text, or like we've been doing through email, but there's just something that just, it's almost as if like I align with you when I like this like interaction when we're sitting and
Mhm.
listening and hearing and talking together. It's because like your stories are either resonating with me because I went through it, or it's amplifying something that's similar to it.
Mhm.
So going back and forth with that as well. And yeah, do you guys have
And
anything else that you wanted to
just wanted
well,
to touch base on the GoFundMe, I think.
yeah. And one of the things is when and I keep telling my daughter, this is how I feel, is when you're able to see somebody's face and speak to them face to face, it leaves no question about how you really feel, because you can be sitting there and texting or whatever all day long. And that person on the other side is going to read whatever affections, emotions, or whatever into that text that they want. And they might, miss it or misunderstand it, So it's always good to get that, face to face. To me, it's important.
right.
Hmm.
Right. Yeah. And I yes, definitely so. And I would like to do more conversations with this, and I would also like to invite you guys. I just want to say up front, because I know a lot of us are doing different things with these projects, plus we're handling life. So
Hmm.
I'm starting to tell myself, slow down, Chelsey. We don't got to get everything done at once. So I just wanted to tell you guys, I know it's going to be like a long-term process, but in between, just so you guys like, oh, maybe Chelsey can help us with this, or we can have a conversation. I'd love to
For sure.
continue sitting down having conversations, as well as welcome you all into spaces that I'm with as well, in times where you guys can make it as far as healing, so that you guys can share your stories as well, with the boarding schools, and just who all of you are and what you're doing. And that right there in itself is just networking within our communities, so we can continue sharing our stories. And I really love doing that, compared to like depending on the media there, depending on the news or depending on this big
You
thing,
can't depend
because
on the
it's
government.
coming from us. These are our stories. It's coming from our bodies and our voices, and we're saying that. So with that, I'd also like to just learn how I can continue to amplify you guys, like the GoFund and just anything else.
Yeah, I mean, I think, like you said, just having conversations with each other and, meeting up and networking through, like you said, our community and telling our stories ourselves, getting the message out ourselves. And that's kind of why we started the GoFundMe because, in my opinion, we love Deb Haaland. She's amazing, of course. She wants to do for her people. She wants to do the right thing. I believe she has the best intentions. However, Carlisle Indian School in Pennsylvania, they found those bodies, 186 children, they found those in 2000. And so it's 2021 now. If they were going to do an investigation,
Mark those.
they would have done it. And so,
Mhm.
who better than to go out and do some investigation, get some people on the same page. We plan on documenting everything through our YouTube channel so that people can be involved, they can be in on every part of it. And then it becomes a community
Yes.
action instead of
Yes.
just depending on somebody in power that did these things to us to come and tell us what happened. I don't
Yeah.
trust them. And,
Yeah.
we were even talking about we would like to have, medicine men there or, some healing dances going on. And
Yes.
we're going to be the ones to do it the most respectfully and the culturally sound
Yes.
for us, and
Yes.
then getting others in on how to operate these machines and getting more and more machines, getting them to the tribes, getting them to different areas, different U.S. territories. We're looking at searching some um, free slave graves in a nearby community that were hidden. So
Yeah.
it's a movement of, digging up our history and
I
just
feel
being
it. Yeah.
educated about, hey, what happened and what are we going to do going forward? What are we
Yes.
going to write now? Because we have the power to do that.
And I
Yes.
think it's my mission to help my people find our people that didn't get to come home from these boarding schools.
Yes.
To me, that's important.
Because it
And
could have easily been you.
it could have been me. And you even get survivor's remorse. Like, why did I get to leave and they didn't? You start questioning
She's had a
yourself.
lot of guilt with that.
You know,
Yes.
and so for me, it's really important that
Yes.
we help bring our people, our children home. Where they
Yes.
belong. You
Yes.
know,
Yes.
so
Yes.
That's our mission.
I amplify that, and I just want to let you guys know, I know you guys are not going to give up. I'm not saying you're going to give up,
no,
but I know it is a long road, and please don't give up, because I'm
no,
learning that
no, we
with this
won't.
kind of work, we have to like take these little steps and keep on being consistent.
Hmm.
Even if we upload TikTok only once a week or twice a week, we have once a month, we have to keep it, because people are going to see that. And when people are going to see that, they're going to be expecting, like, we have to pay attention to and check on this page. It only comes on twice a month, but we got to make sure that we're checking in, because we do want to follow up with these things, and there needs to be more. And not only that, I also want to say, by you guys taking your time and putting your efforts, and even if it doesn't sound or look like there's a lot of support or whatever, I know that people coming across you guys' work is being inspired and being encouraged. There's a lot of things that we don't see as far as like answers or responses or whatever, but I have the utmost confidence that it is. And yeah, I just want to learn how I can continue to amplify. And then also, my whole practice is literally educating stigma through lived experiences. And the reason why I amplify lived experiences is because, again, from adolescence to early adulthood, throughout my 20s, I've always believed that I couldn't go above the normal minimum wage or whatever, because because I don't have this higher education and I'm struggling in freaking higher ed. I can't focus in it. There's just different things. I've pushed myself so many these past 2 years. I've been really proud of myself because I've been sticking through. But I think it has been the healing with me. There's been this deep rooted self taught behavior belief that I couldn't do math in middle school. So, why should I believe I'm going to do math in adulthood? I didn't even give myself that opportunity to try because of that deeply rooted belief. So, with learned experiences, you don't teach this in a textbook. This is something you went through, that your body, your soul, your life, and everything connected with it went through that. And I think we minimize lived experiences and people who lived experiences, and we put them under academia and under the textbook stuff when we really need to be on top of it, because the education is very important, but it should be just a part of another route of our teaching. It shouldn't be a primary, because our body knows we are created to be able to use our intuition on top of the other resources. So yeah, my whole practice is lived experiences, and I would love to have you guys, sometime in the near future, just sharing you guys' experience, so that way people who are like, this is not happening to Native Americans, this was just happening in this certain
It
place.
happened a long time ago. That's always the one that I'm
Yeah,
like,
that happened a
guys.
long time ago. I
It
had to tell
happened a
people, get
long
over
time
it. Yeah, that
ago.
happened to you when you was a kid. Get over it. No, you don't get
Right.
over it. Nope.
Yes. And it continues to happen. So no, we're not going to get. It's the same thing with the war on Guam as well. Well, you have United States citizenship. Why are you complaining about the military? That is, I am very grateful that I have United States citizenship. There's other places that don't have United States citizenship and the access that we have again. But if that means that you're going to come and poison my water,
Yeah.
or you're going to come bomb these external islands for literally, like what you said, it freaking
Testing.
pissed me off, where they said for freaking world peace, you're gonna bomb an island where there's people there. There's literal people and children living there. And you're gonna tell them the American government thanks you for contributing to world peace. And generations later, that bombing that you did is still poisoning the waters. It's still poisoning our reefs. It's still poisoning the land. The freaking global warming and the climate change that is being man-made by America and all these outsider whatever areas is affecting the Pacific Islands, and they're getting the impacts and the results of that, or many other external areas as well, the Amazon rainforest and all of that. But anyway, that's for another
There's a
time. I'm
lot to
getting
cover. There's a
It
lot
is,
to
yes,
cover.
there's a lot.
much. And I'm
There.
grateful that we can have this multi conversation, all these things, because another thing as well is one of the groups that I was in, one of the ladies was like, Chelsey, I think you're like too into, like, it sounds like this conspiracy. You think the military is tying
Lost.
in. Yeah,
Yeah.
you think, she's like, you think the military is tying into what's happening with the kids, with the abuse, and I'm like, it is. It's all interconnected. Why? But I don't like exert my energy. But anyways, I love for you guys to participate and share whenever you can, just to continue
Yeah,
just
just
educating those.
reach out to us. We're here, and you have my phone number. That's the best way to do it,
Best way.
because
Yeah,
the
because
Beautiful.
we'll set up and chat with you again. I like it. I like talking to people.
Yeah,
Like I
yeah.
tell her I'm old. I can talk, all day long.
I know, even me too. I try to balance myself because now I'm like talking a lot, and I'm like,
Mhm.
girl, give somebody a chance to talk.
No,
So
uh-uh, because we all learn through
yes,
talking to each other. We're going to learn a lot more from each other talking than we are
yes,
reading some article, and we get that verbal, input with each
verbal
other.
communication.
Yes.
Is there anything specific you guys would like me to amplify about the GoFundMe, or anything
Yeah.
else you guys have going on?
Right now we're just working mostly on the GoFundMe. We're paired up with a local activist here, and she's gonna help us get a little more I don't know, exposure, I guess, so that we can go ahead and do this.
Circulation.
But that's basically it. I mean, I think what you said about being consistent and being, keeping people in the loop, and because I'm in charge of the editing and the putting together that stuff, and sometimes it feels like I know what's going on.
She works hard.
You're the
But
producer.
yeah.
But I mean, she really works hard. I get to do, I always say, I get to do the fun stuff. I get to do the
Fun stuff.
creation of the art pieces,
Yeah.
whatever. But, and I love that she's tapping it back into her art. Um, but she does everything.
Well, how you were saying is I see from my perspective, so I'm like, I know what's going on, but I need to let other people know, hey, we're here, we're doing this. We need to, I think that was some really good advice, honestly.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
thank you.
Definitely. Yeah. I'm going to keep on amplifying. I've been sharing and tagging people on you guys' stories because another thing that you mentioned as well was that you all wanted to sit with survivors and share your stories.
Mhm.
That's the same thing, like I was mentioning earlier, that I'm trying to encourage like my peoples to do, the creators and the artists,
Mhm.
anybody in general, that are my people. And I'm really, really happy because I'm starting to see my people utilizing technology and get creative with their craft. Like I mentioned earlier about music, a friend of mine, he never talks about militarization or anything like that happening on Guam, and he just uploaded a song that was talking about like um the people are telling us to appreciate the military man because he's bringing in the money for the land, but yet they're the same people that are taking the land and raping it too, and just everything
Exactly.
in between. So it was a very great song to be exposed to be able to open our mind to another set of belief
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
understanding.
Yeah.
And anything you need us to do too, we're here too. So,
Yeah. Because it's got to
Definitely.
stop. Enough is
Yes.
enough.
Um, yeah, no, definitely. I'm gonna continue doing what I'm doing, sharing you all stuff, and I was really happy. So thank you guys. I was when I because I followed the page before you guys started sharing a little bit more about the recent findings with the schools. So
Mhm.
I was so ecstatic when I saw the GoFundMe and you guys were saying that you guys are going to go track this yourself and document and everything. That is going to be the next wave of artists and creators on the internet and just artists in general. The next wave, because social media is still very new. So
it
we were
is.
all millennials and just anybody in general was utilizing it for socializing, communication, browsing the web. But now that it's been around and now with the advancement of technology, now like people can make videos, make audio sounds, make music,
Oh yeah.
just literally create anything on the internet. So I know that this is going to go very, very well, and I'm grateful and excited for it.
And
Thank you.
and I think once we get out there, if we can convince Uweepy man, a medicine man, to come out, if I think we can convince singers to come out and dancers, just somebody with a drum. Drum
There's
is always
some
healing.
healing,
You
yeah.
guys are in Texas,
Hmm.
was it
Yeah,
right?
Yes.
yeah, but
Texas.
yeah, but I think that in itself also is going to bring awareness
Yes.
to build our culture back. Regardless of what tribe, we're all uniting. And bringing healing, because that is what we need. We need as native people. We need healing.
Yes.
We need understanding. We're so fractured. In so many
Yep.
ways. So we need to bring each other, regardless of uh, the different cultures. I think if we stick together and stay as one, we're going to get something. We're stronger in numbers, so it's going to help us. It's going to help us regardless of where we're at.
I definitely love to follow along, and what is coming into my heart right now is yes to you guys calling out drummers and healers and dancers along with everything you guys are doing. I think that's super crucial, and I think even you guys just putting that message out now that
Mm-hmm.
like when we get there, this is what we want to do, which is bring so people can start getting used to seeing that, inspecting that,
Like a
and you never
visualization.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah, you never know if somebody will be like, hey, I like we have this community in Texas. But what I was thinking as well was like, I definitely love to follow along. And who knows if the heavens will allow me to come visit with you guys when you guys are out at these sites.
Yeah.
And I would
Exactly.
love to bring I would love to bring our cultural dances and
Yes,
healing
that would
foods
be
as
Yes.
well.
good.
So that
Yeah.
way people can see like, yo, Guam is showing up
That
to
gives
this
me
thing.
chills.
It gave me chills as
Yeah.
well. Yeah, like Hawaii is showing up, Guam is there's so many like Pacific Islanders in Texas in general.
It's
But
like we are
anywhere that
together.
you're at, just coming
Well, see,
together.
we're going. Oh, we're going to be going to Oklahoma since that's the most concentrated area.
Oklahoma.
Yeah, which is right above us.
To
Okay.
start. To
To
start.
start, yeah, start looking.
Yeah, no, this is going to be a long haul, but we're definitely in for it. And whatever small thing you guys do, I don't even know who's we, but we're in for it.
Yeah, that's all
Who's
right.
That's us
we? I
too.
don't
We're like,
know, but
we got
I'm
Yeah,
this.
we
Yeah.
but yeah, just that would be a beautiful thing. So I'm gonna follow along and like
Okay.
I said, build people up as well. And hopefully when it comes to that time that we can find people who can show up, because I know some people like in our culture, we tell them what you guys are doing, they're gonna be like, oh heck yeah, like it's done, we're doing this. And to be able to visually see like, oh, Pacific Islanders, Native American, just different people coming up to promote healing and like the drums and all of that for this big purpose, that's what's gonna like get into people's heart and
I
like open their
completely
eyes.
I completely agree with you, and it's a you're showing people that we're together. We are
Yes.
together. Yeah.
Yes, showing people like, oh, okay, like we cannot like, because the number one stigma with the news, people like to give their opinion, right? Like, oh, on one side it's this, but on another side it's this. And naturally, of course, because we want to give like there's two sides to every story, but
Hmm.
I think we're abusing that,
Yeah.
and we're too busy looking at this one narrative instead of we're too busy looking at our actions. And I speak on that because the one case that I'm working on, the child, he stole a vehicle. So that is why the police was chasing him down. But the reason why I'm fighting in this case is because the vehicle was stopped. And this man executed him from the behind, piercing his head, his heart, and his neck, shooting at him 10 times and 8 of the shots landing when the vehicle was stopped. But the thing about Honolulu is that the same people, the same officers who are involved in officer related shootings are the same officers that are investigating the case.
Of
The
course.
Pacific Islands, they
oh,
have
wow.
different law from the United States. And so it's like all your family and your buddy is in the law. They're in higher power. And that's how these women that are getting abused, their cases are never heard.
Hmm.
These men that are in power, they're still hurting them. Why? Because there are police officers, there are teachers, there are judges, there are in our military. It's everywhere because it's us. But yet we're still ignoring the fact that like our people can't do that. Our people are not like that. And it's like, no, we're too far gone already. But um I'm sorry, I'm just like so excited and I amplify everything. I'm gonna follow along.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you guys as well. I really appreciate your time. And I'm going to send this audio recording over to y'all so that you guys can do your magic over there with producing, which the videos and the audio I really love. It's
Thank
super
you.
cool. And I really amplify and encourage because that's the same thing I'm doing as well. But I amplify y'all making videos with the audio and the stories because like I said again, you guys continue to do it, it's going to reach those ears that needs to be reached. And when people hear sound, like it just amplifies the story just like 10 times more.
Yeah.
Yep.
Totally.
Yep.
Thank you so
So
much, Chelsea. It
thank
was
you
good
very
meeting
much, and
you.
let's do this again.
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely. I will keep in touch with